Hi, I'm Perry Dowell. I'm the Climate Change Program Coordinator at GASP.
Hey everyone, today I will be interviewing Perry Dowell to talk about community climate assemblies. Just to provide some context, GASP is an organization that is in the state of Alabama. Alabama and its residents are facing a lot of different environmental issues, and GASP is an organization that is working to fight against these issues. Now, let's get started with the interview.
Here we go.
So my first question is, what is a community climate assembly?
Yeah, the community climate assemblies are they were part of this Green New Deal for Birmingham campaign.
Mhm.
So a little bit about the Green New Deal for Birmingham, because that knowledge is important to have when talking about the climate assemblies.
Mhm.
So the Green New Deal for Birmingham is a campaign to build support, talk to the community, and gather qualitative data, hear people's life experiences and stories and that kind of stuff to inform a people-driven, justice-first climate action plan for the city of Birmingham. So the campaign is built on 6 pillars: clean air, land and water, sustainable development, transparent government, responsible energy, transit justice, and equitable investments. And each of these pillars coordinated with an event, and those were the community climate assemblies. So we've actually finished out the series. We finished it in June. We've been thinking through maybe bringing back some sort of similar event because people were really enjoying it. But for now, the series has come to a close. So we had 6, one on each of those pillars that I just mentioned. And the first hour, we talked a little bit about the Green New Deal, and then we had a speaker come that was an expert on the topic. So for our responsible energy climate assembly, for example, we had someone from an organization called Energy Alabama that does energy advocacy, renewable energy advocacy, come and talk about what responsible energy is and what that could mean for Birmingham. And then the second half, we broke out into breakout rooms. So they were like 5 to 6 people per group with a volunteer note taker to track the conversation and keep up with it. And yeah, so people talked about things like how has this issue impacted your community? What are some problems that you're facing? What are some solutions that you can imagine? What would an ideal Birmingham look like? And these kind of things. So we had people talk about that. And then the day after the climate assemblies, I sat down with the volunteer note takers, and we did what's called a synthesis, where you look at everything that you have, the notes, the conversations that people were having, and you boil them down into their like main parts. So what were core agreements throughout all the conversations that were being had, core disagreements, any themes that came up, things that came up reoccurringly. And then mandates, things that we identified that need to happen. And then we put those into one big document, and that'll be used to inform the climate action plan. Once we get ready to write it, we'll use that information to figure out what kind of stuff needs to go into that climate plan. So the climate action plan will be presented to the city of Birmingham and the mayor's office. The goal is to do that next April in line with Earth Day. So the first phase was these climate assemblies, events and that kind of stuff to raise awareness about the Green New Deal and also to hear from the community on what they would, what issues they're facing, what they would like to see in a climate action plan. And then this next phase is going to be us putting together a team and actually writing the plan.
Oh, that's amazing. So what demographics are you guys hoping to target with, or were you hoping to target with these assemblies?
Yeah, so when I talk about the Birmingham community, what I'm talking about are the people that live and or work in Birmingham, people that are affected by the policies that are in Birmingham. GASP is an air quality and environmental justice centered organization. So, if you live here, if you work here, you're going to be affected by the air quality and the environmental concerns in the city. So that's the group that we were talking to. Demographics wise, whoever we could get to show up from the city. Ideally, that was groups that made up Birmingham's demographics. So we want that, a smaller group to reflect the overall demographics in Birmingham. What we found were the people showing up were people that knew about GASP. So our members, people in our network. So yeah, I always wanted to reach out to people that we didn't talk to a lot, but the problem was that we didn't talk to them a lot, so I didn't know how to reach out to them. So we're exploring some things now. We have a couple of focus groups in the next couple of weeks, and we're exploring some ways that we can talk to some people that we don't normally talk to.
That's cool. Did you guys like get a lot of like young people there, or was it mainly older like generations? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it actually it was really cool because there were people um a varied like multi generations in these space. So these events normally had a turnout of around between 20 to 30 people. Some of them were like UAB students, or other like young 20s, early 30s. And then some were older people that care about environmental work, or or just these topics interest them. So yeah, it was everybody that was like young, middle-aged, and then we had some older folks join us as well.
Do you think that people need to have like prior knowledge about environmental issues or like, I guess, climate change before they come to these meetings, or?
Yeah, no. So the goal was with the climate assemblies and for future events that we have at GASP, you don't have to have prior knowledge to come to these things. GASP works through collaboration with community and organizations and groups. Legal advocacy and education is a big part of our mission. So we want these spaces, both the climate assemblies and other events that we host, to be places where people can come and learn about these things. So that's why we started off with the climate assemblies having this education portion, where if you've never heard about responsible energy before, you have no idea what that means, you hear the speaker talking about it, giving some basis, some platform, and then you go into having some conversation. And even the conversations, are things about what have you experienced, how has this affected you, and so that also doesn't really take a lot of background knowledge on the topic, because we really want to hear about what the people that are coming have experienced.
That's amazing. Is location an issue when you had these meetings, or because I know you had like a Zoom alternative as well, right?
Yeah, well, so let's see, we had 6 events. 3 of them were on Zoom and 4 were in person. Is that right? We had 1 at Cahaba Brewery and okay, we had 3 on Zoom and 3 in person. We were going to have 4 in person, but there were severe weather warnings, and so we had to move to a Zoom format. Location wasn't an issue. We have some great community partners that were willing to let us host our events at their location. So the first one we had in person was at Cahaba Brewing. And then after that, we had fostered some relationships over at Harvest Roots Kombucha Tap Room in Avondale. And so that's where the last 2 climate assemblies were held. And it was a perfect space for it. People could have kombucha and there were snacks available. It's all alcohol-free drinks, and the space was just beautiful, lots of plants, and it was a good place to have conversation. So let's see. What was your question exactly? Was location an issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if I were making recommendations to someone wanting to do a similar event, I would encourage in person. We found that when doing these events on Zoom, people would come for the beginning and hearing the speaker, and then leave before the breakout conversations, which is fine. They're learning something, and they don't feel like having a conversation, and so then they head out. But part of our goal with these events was to hear from the community, to inform that climate action plan that we'll be writing later. And so in person, people tended to stick around a little bit longer, and have some of those conversations. So yeah, I think in person worked better for what we were wanting to do. Also, conversation tends to flow more freely when you're in person.
So you mentioned like if someone wanted to like do something similar, do you think someone could like replicate the idea of a climate assembly anywhere? Like would they need qualifications or like would there be any barriers for them to do it?
Yeah, no, I think that this is a kind of event format that anyone could do. And honestly, I would encourage them to, because getting community input can be really, really valuable. And it's really important, especially when doing advocacy work, because no one knows the issue better than the people that are experiencing it firsthand. Um, so yeah, I think that this format could work for not just environmental work, but for anyone, starting out with an education portion, what are you talking about? And then moving into some conversation. Maybe you want to hear from the group and you have note takers. Maybe you just want people to be able to have a space to talk to each other. Yeah, I think anyone could do it. And I don't think that there are any special qualifications that you need to have. I had never been an event planner or facilitator before these events, and I did just fine.
So at the end of the assemblies, were there like any goals that you had made before they started that you reached or like that you wanted to keep in mind?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the majority of the goals for these assemblies was just to talk to people that live and work in Birmingham, and hear about their experiences. And those goals were definitely accomplished by the end. So then we had our notes that our note takers had been taking, that we could go back through and read, and then gather from that what the broader themes were of those conversations. And yeah, aside from that, yeah, the main goal was just to hear and talk to the community, and I think we were able to accomplish that.
So if you were to reach out to other people if you wanted to like replicate this event in the future, what would your like pitch be to them if that's something you can answer?
Mm-hmm. Um, are you talking about if we wanted people to come and speak, or if we wanted to invite people to attend?
If you wanted to invite people to attend.
Yeah, I think part of it depends on what our outcome is, what the goal is for the purpose, if you will, of these events. For us, the purpose was talking to the community in Birmingham, to inform the climate action plan. So a pitch just for that, using an example, which could be modified for a different goal, would be something like, we want to hear your input. We're working on a climate action plan for the city of Birmingham. It's people driven, and we need to hear from the people. So come out and talk to us, share your experience, and enjoy some kombucha and learn something along the way.
So those are all the questions I had for you. Do you have like anything else you want to share? Or
Yeah, I can share just a little bit about my organization more generally. Um, So yeah, we're GASP, Greater Birmingham Alliance to Stop Pollution. I think I already said we do air quality environmental justice work. Um, we have several different programs. One of them is the Green New Deal for Birmingham program, which I coordinate and facilitate. We also have an Air Watch program where we educate the public on how to identify and report air pollution. We have a air quality index tracker on our website. And we also take volunteers to host air monitors, where we'll come and install an air monitor on your home for free. Um, yeah, and then we watch the air quality there, but then the people that have the air monitor can also watch. It's on a public map, which is also on our website that anyone can look at any time. And yeah, I said we do legal advocacy. So I don't know if you're aware, I wasn't until I started working with gas, but there are some coke plants in North Birmingham. So these are like industrial plants. Coke is the when they press the coal to get out the oxygen, and then use that for the steel manufacturing industry. These coke plants are surrounding a historically black neighborhoods that have been designated a Superfund site, which is where the EPA, they designated a Superfund site and are supposed to contribute funds for the cleanup of that area. So these people are living on contaminated soil. Their air is contaminated. They have really high rates of cancer and asthma and those kind of issues over there. And this is something that a lot of people don't know about in the greater Birmingham area. So that's definitely something that I like to bring up when we're talking about GASP and the work that we do. Yeah, and you might see us at like tabling events and stuff. We like to share our mission and talk to people.
That's amazing. It's great to like have organizations like this in Birmingham, especially because I feel like a lot of young environmentalists need to see like organizations that are able to do work and reach out into the community.
Yeah, and we're wanting to expand our reach too. I'm glad that you've heard of us. I hadn't heard of GASP. I grew up in Leeds, Alabama, and I went to the Alabama School of Fine Arts for high school and then moved to Atlanta for college and then moved back afterwards. And when I moved back home, I was like, I'm not going to be able to find any work. There aren't any environmental organizations in Alabama. But actually, there are a lot. There are a lot of organizations working on water quality and water conservation and protecting our rivers. There's GASP working on air quality. We also have a lot of organizations working on energy and working on environmental justice work in the Birmingham area. So I'm glad that you've heard of GASP, and I'm curious, how did you hear about us?
I actually saw you guys on Instagram one time, so
Okay. Yeah, cool. And then I think you're on the planning team email list.
yes, I am.
Yeah, so the Green New Deal for Birmingham planning team, which you probably already know about this, but for the sake of the recording, um, is a team of volunteers that provide support and input for the Green New Deal for Birmingham campaign. And then they'll provide input for the climate action plan once we get ready to write it. So this team has been really helpful. When I was talking about the volunteer note takers during the climate assemblies, those were planning team members. We meet monthly to talk things through regarding the Green New Deal for Birmingham. And it's been a really great team.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to like meet with me and then allowing me to do an interview and ask you questions. I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone who's like watching this will as well.
Yeah, good. No problem. I'm always happy to talk about our work and share what we do.
That's the end of the interview. I am so grateful to have been able to talk to Miss Dowell. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment them down below. I know this was a longer video, so thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.